In the 1940s, a big war began. This war was unlike any other that had come before it. It involved many countries from all around the world, and it affected the lives of millions of people. The war brought about significant changes and challenges for everyone, including children. It was called World War II. This global conflict lasted from 1939 to 1945 and was one of the deadliest wars in history. The war saw the involvement of major world powers, divided into two opposing military alliances, the Allies and the Axis. The enemy was dropping bombs from airplanes. These bombs were dangerous. They were designed to cause maximum destruction and fear. The bombings targeted not only military installations but also civilian areas, making everyday life perilous for those living in the cities. They could hurt people and damage buildings. The bombings left many cities in ruins, with homes, schools, and hospitals destroyed. The constant threat of air raids meant that people had to be on high alert at all times, often seeking shelter in underground bunkers or makeshift shelters. Cities like London, where lots of people lived, were in danger. London, being the capital city, was a prime target for enemy bombers. The city experienced relentless bombing campaigns, known as the Blitz, which aimed to break the spirit of the British people and force the government to surrender. To keep children safe, they had to leave their homes. This was called evacuation. The government organized the evacuation of children to protect them from the dangers of war. Parents had to make the heart-wrenching decision to send their children away, hoping it would keep them safe. Children were sent to the countryside, far away from the dangerous cities. The countryside was considered a safer place because it was less likely to be targeted by enemy bombers. The fresh air and open spaces were a stark contrast to the crowded and dangerous cities. They went to live with new families in safer places. These host families took in the evacuated children, providing them with a temporary home. The children had to adapt to a new way of life, away from their parents and familiar surroundings. Despite the challenges, the evacuation was a necessary measure to ensure their safety during the war. Imagine saying goodbye to your house, your toys, and everything you know, and maybe even your dad. These children had to leave behind their fathers, mothers, and siblings, not knowing when or if they would see them again. That's what these brave children had to do during World War II. They were called evacuees, and their courage was remarkable. They packed a small suitcase with a few clothes, a favorite toy, and maybe a book or a photograph to remind them of home. We have some amazing replica World War artifacts on our website at Starbeck Education to enhance your learning experience, and a gas mask to protect them from poisonous gas. The threat of air raids and gas attacks was very real, and these masks were a necessary precaution.
Then they boarded trains. These trains would take them to the countryside, far away from the dangers of the cities. Many children had never been on a train before. The experience was new and strange, filled with the sounds of the engine and the clatter of the tracks.
It was a long journey, and some children felt scared, excited, and sad all at the same time. They were leaving everything familiar behind, venturing into the unknown, but they were all very brave. Their bravery wasn't just in facing the journey, but in adapting to new homes, new schools, and new families. They had to grow up quickly, learning to be resilient and strong in the face of adversity. When they arrived in the countryside, they were met by host families. These families took them in, offering shelter and care. It was a new beginning, but also a challenging adjustment. The countryside was different from the city. There were open fields, fresh air, and new adventures. Some children found solace in the beauty of nature, while others missed the hustle and bustle of city life. They wrote letters home, sharing their experiences and longing for their families. These letters were a lifeline, a way to stay connected to the world they had left behind. Despite the hardships, there were moments of joy. Celebrating holidays, making new friends, and discovering new hobbies brought light to their lives. Eventually, the war ended, and many children were able to return home. The reunions were filled with tears of joy and relief. They had survived a difficult chapter in history, and their stories of resilience and courage continue to inspire us today.
Finally, the trains arrived in the countryside. It was a whole new world. Everything was green, with fields, farms, and animals. The children were met by strangers who would become their host families.
Some children went to live in cozy cottages, while others stayed in bigger houses. They had to get used to new routines, new food, and new people.
Life in the countryside wasn't always easy. The children missed their mums and dads terribly. They missed their warm beds and their familiar toys.
Sometimes, they felt lonely and scared in their new surroundings.
It was hard being away from everything they knew and loved. They wondered when they would see their families again.
But the countryside was also full of adventures.
The children made new friends and explored the woods and fields. They climbed trees, built dens, and splashed in streams.
They learned about farm life, helped with chores, and discovered a whole new way of living. They even went to different schools and made friends with the local children.
One of the most exciting things was receiving letters from home.
The postman would arrive with news and messages from their families. Reading those letters made the children feel closer to home.
They would write back, telling their families about their adventures and how much they missed them. These letters were a lifeline, connecting them to the people they loved most.
Section 7, the war ends, going home. After what seemed like a very long time, the war finally ended. The bombs stopped falling and it was safe for the children to go home. Everyone was overjoyed. Section 8, remembering the evacuees. Today we remember the brave children who became evacuees during World War II. Their stories are told in books, museums, and even movies. They faced difficult times, but they never gave up hope. Section 9, what we can learn from evacuees. The story of the evacuees teaches us important lessons about bravery, friendship, and the importance of family. During World War II, millions of children were evacuated from cities to the countryside to escape the dangers of bombings. This massive operation, known as Operation Pied Piper, saw children leaving their homes, schools, and everything familiar to them. They were sent to live with strangers in rural areas, often not knowing when or if they would see their families again. Despite the fear and uncertainty, these children showed remarkable resilience and courage. We learned that even though war is scary, people can be kind and courageous. Communities came together to support the evacuees, offering them homes, food, and care. Strangers became like family, showing immense kindness and generosity. This sense of community and solidarity was crucial in helping the evacuees cope with their new reality. It teaches us the importance of coming together and supporting one another in times of crisis. Section 10, teaching about evacuees during World War II. Inch's educational artifacts. Our company offers a wide range of educational artifacts from World War I and II, including uniforms, equipment, and personal items. These artifacts can be used to enhance learning and provide a tangible connection to the past. Creative writing activities, diary entries. Have students write diary entries from the perspective of an evacuee, describing their feelings, experiences, and challenges. Letters home. Encourage students to write letters home to their parents or siblings, expressing their thoughts and feelings. Stories. Have students write short stories based on the experiences of evacuees, incorporating elements of fiction and imagination. Discussion. Questions. How did the children feel about leaving their homes and families? What challenges did the evacuees face in their new surroundings? How did the host families feel about taking in evacuees? What did the children learn from their experiences as evacuees? How did the war affect the lives of children in general? Role-playing activities. Evacuation day. Simulate the day of evacuation, including packing bags, saying goodbye to loved ones, and boarding the train. Life in the countryside. Recreate daily life in a rural setting, including chores, meals, and playtime. Air raid drills. Practice air raid drills and discuss the importance of safety during wartime. That's it for now, folks. Thanks for watching.